Hi everybody, Miss Cone here. I thought it important to make an instructional video this week because Unit 3 is tough. And so I thought maybe explaining a little bit to you before you get started would help. So first of all, I'm going to take you to Unit 3 here and explain a few things. Let's scroll down to Unit 3. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is read your learning objectives, and you're going to click on narrative writing. You're going to take this quiz, and actually the story, Where Have You Gone, Charming Billy, by Tim O'Brien, is actually kind of an example of the kind of writing you're going to be doing in this unit. Okay. And then the first thing I want you to understand is this annotated bibliography assignment. You'll want to make sure you click on 3.3 first and read through it, which I'll do. And then this assignment is really kind of prep work for this eyewitness to history narrative assignment that you have to write in 3.5. So 3.3 through 3.6 kind of go together. Yeah. The annotated bibliography assignment is prep work for this eyewitness to history narrative that you have to write. Okay. So what you're going to do for the annotated bibliography assignment, first thing you're going to do is click on 3.3. Okay. And an annotated bibliography is a bibliography where you cite the sources that you're going to review, okay, to help you learn about one event in history in this case, okay? And you're going to pick from a list that's below here, and I'll show you the list here in a minute. And with the annotated bibliography, you're going to pick, first thing you're going to do is pick one of these events in history, okay? Now keep in mind that you want to pick one that you think you want to write the eyewitness to history narrative to. So with the eyewitness to history narrative, you are going to write a story from the perspective of you, the main character, okay? The main character actually being at the event and witnessing history, okay? So the purpose of the annotated bibliography is to read some sources about one of these topics that you choose to educate yourself about what that event was like, so you can include some realistic details in your narrative for the eyewitness to history narrative that you have to write, which is kind of like a short story, okay? In 3.5. So if I were writing this, okay, I think 9/11 would be interesting. I think Woodstock would be interesting. I think JFK assassination would be interesting. There are a lot of interesting things that have had. I think a lot of these would be really interesting. So I'd have a hard time picking. But since I really like music, okay, I'm going to make my example based on Woodstock, okay? Because Woodstock, I want to put myself back in 1969, seeing some Jimi Hendrix and some Santana for my eyewitness to history narrative. So I'm going to focus my annotated bibliography on Woodstock. Because again, the purpose of the annotated bibliography is to pick one of your topics from this list and eventually write an eyewitness to history narrative. And the annotated bibliography is supposed to help you gain some realistic details to include in the narrative, okay? And so for the annotated bibliography, okay, you have to review 4 sources total. So you have to go to the internet, and you can't use Wikipedia, and you got to find 4 sources, okay? And for each source, you've got to include the citation, MLA style. I'm going to include a video that will walk you through in the announcements with this video that will walk you through how to cite your sources using Purdue OWL. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about that right now. All right. But you're going to include the source citation. You're going to include a 3+ sentence summary of the source. You're going to give me a sentence or two about what makes the source credible. Is it up to date? Is it not biased? Is it from a source that you know is reliable, like history.com or the BBC? Is it, or PBS? Is it from written by someone who was actually at the event? So is it more of a primary source document where it's written by someone who was actually there? Is it recent? Is it written by someone who writes for a reputable publication? Those are things to know on whether or not it's credible. Yeah. And you, of course, you have to justify why it's credible, because I don't want you to use not credible sources in your writing. And then you're going to give me 1 to 2 sentences about how you might use some of the details in the source in the paper. So, for instance, if I'm looking at a source about Woodstock, maybe it'll tell me about the different people. The source would tell me about the different people who played at Woodstock, and I could, my eyewitness to history could focus on just seeing Jimi Hendrix or just seeing Santana in the narrative I'm going to write in the eyewitness to history narrative in 3.5. Okay. So then what I'm going to do, okay, is I'm going to find my sources, and I am going to make sure I include all these parts on my annotated bibliography. So what I've done, okay, there's an example annotated bibliography in the class. I created one that I think is better. So I am going to, again, it's linked in the announcement, but I'm going to show you it here, okay? So for each source, you're going to do, first of all, you're going to put your topic, so I know what you plan to write about in your eyewitness to history narrative. And then you are going to cite the source. You're going to give me a 3+ sentence summary of the source. You are going to tell me why the source is credible. And you're going to tell me how you could use some of the details in the source, okay, in your narrative for 3.5. Okay. So when you put it all together, one source on your annotated bibliography is going to look like this. Okay, so you've got your citation, summary, analysis of source credibility, and how you're going to use it in 3.5. The eyewitness to history narrative, when you actually go to write your story. Okay, and then you're going to do this for 4 sources total. Again, this whole process here, yep, okay, 4 times for 4 different sources. This is only one, so that's why I call this a partial annotated bibliography. Okay, this whole process, learning about that event, is going to help you then write 3.5. So let's go back to, let's go on to 3.5. Okay, let me just click on next in modules here. Okay, so you're going to submit your annotated bibliography, right? And then you're going to go next. All right. And then you are going to read through this advice about narrative writing, and you are going to write your eyewitness to history narrative, where you are writing 700 to 1,000 words of historical fiction, okay, describing your experience as an eyewitness to a significant event. So again, you're going to use the event that you focused on the annotated bibliography. In my case, I would be going back to Woodstock, and my main character, I can pretend I'm me and write from the I. I could pretend I'm someone else and still write from the I. I think this assignment's easy. If your narrator, you use the first person, okay? And I am going to pretend like I'm at Woodstock. And I am going to witness Woodstock and think about what I would see and smell and hear. And I'm supposed to write this in first person point of view. And I'm going to turn it into a story that I witness. So I'm going to witness Woodstock. You can witness, you have to pick this topic and the annotated bibliography and this paper in 3.5 should be on the same topic, because the point of the annotated bib is to find details for this paper. Okay? I am going to again link a separate video that I didn't make, but I found a good one on YouTube about how to cite sources using Purdue's online writing lab. So that way you can do the source citation part, which would be this part I have highlighted here. Yes. For each one of your 4 sources on the annotated bibliography. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and link that video. So you'll want to make sure you watch that video too. I'm going to link this sample annotated bibliography as well. But I think watching this video, along with seeing my sample annotated bibliography and hearing me describe how these assignments 3.3 through 3.6 kind of work together, I think that will help you be successful in both these assignments. But this week's going to take a little longer, so you're going to need a little more time. As always, give me a shout if you need me. Make sure you read all the materials in Canvas on the modules as well before you get started. And give me a shout if you need anything. I'm here for you. Can't wait to read your stories. I'm so excited. They're always a lot of fun to read.